Hi guys, it's Psycho, and today I'm going to be doing something a bit different, and this will be the first of many tutorials on my channel. Today we're going to be starting off with how to do an advanced off-the-wall air drag. Just a word of warning before we begin, I want to note that this is without doubt one of the hardest skills to master in the game, and will probably take you more than a few hundred hours to master fully. An air drag can be extremely useful for competitive play, not just unranked game modes, as it can completely throw off your opponent. We'll be taking a look at how you can do turtle drags, freestyle drags, and a quick note on air drags on Wasteland, which are much harder to complete in game. Another thing that needs to be noted is that different cars have very different hitboxes, meaning that one car can have better control of the ball, both on the ground and in the air, than another. As you can see on screen, it's a lot harder to maintain control of the ball in a Sweet Tooth than it is with an Octane or a Dominus. The Sweet Tooth has a much faster turning radius, meaning that every turn of the stick has a greater effect on the direction of the car. This is not what we want when going up for air drags, as we want to have full control over the ball until the ball lands in the net. It's still possible to pull off insane looking shots with these types of cars, but it's really not advisable. The crucial difference between my way of air dragging and most others is that I do a thrust jump as I go up the curve of the wall, rather than a single jump or a double jump. This means that as soon as that first jump makes contact with the ball, you're immediately following it up, instead of struggling to catch up with it. Sometimes you can end up launching the ball to the ceiling with this technique, which is why you should always approach the wall at a slow pace. A thrust jump is just a double jump, whilst tilting your car upwards and holding down the boost throughout the action. Once you've nailed thrust jumping, try implementing it to your air drags and see if your control improves. If you feel comfortable with your regular drags, try to add a rotation whilst carrying the ball, which can be a lot more challenging than it first appears. If you struggle with anything mentioned in this tutorial, you should try again in an exhibition match with the slow-mo mutator activated. For some people this doesn't help, and it's not always for everyone. The best way to wrap the ball around your car as you rotate is by pressing the car against the centre of the ball before pressing down the air roll button. If you lose control over the ball by spinning aside from it, it can ruin how clean the clip will look. Again, this takes hours and hours of game time to master, so don't worry if you try this after the tutorial and can't do it right away. Turtle drags are quite simple and lead directly on from a drag with one rotation. The only difference is that you don't rotate the whole way around, but only do so until your car is facing upside down. Then, pulse the boost to catch up with the ball and try not to lose control. On Wasteland, drags are a whole lot more difficult to do than anything mentioned in this tutorial so far. The reason being is that the walls are curved to a much larger extent and the roof is much closer to the ground. If you go for a thrust jump, it can sometimes lead to you smashing your car against it, so try to flick the ball off the wall as soon as possible. There's no real way of teaching this, but if you time your second jump correctly, the ball should pull off the wall instead of flying into the corner. It took me 15 minutes of exhibition just to get this simple freestyle drag, so by no means am I an expert. The way I rotate on Wasteland is by only making contact with the ball when I can touch it towards the goal. Rather than rotating around the ball, only tap it once every rotation. This should prevent you from hitting the corner and gives you the angle to curve the ball towards the goal. This map is a nightmare for getting air drags, so often the best idea is to hold off on boost and wait to get a double tap as the ball hits the backboard. In my opinion, this is a much easier and more realistic freestyle to go for. And finally guys, the last thing I wanted to show you all is my camera settings and some examples of freestyle air drags I've got in the past. Thank you all so much for the support recently, it's honestly nuts. To think that we're near 1,000 subs in such a small amount of time is honestly ridiculous. I know some people who have been doing YouTube for years and haven't even got 100 yet. Thank you all so much, and goodbye.